We arrived one day early in Santiago so we could have a rest after our overnight flight from St. George, Utah. This is an overseas adventure travel pre-trip to our main adventure in Patagonia. The first day we enjoy a walking tour of the old town of Santiago. Santiago is home to about 1/3 of Chile's population of 17 million people. The capital of Chile was first settled by conquistadors in 1541, and Chile was under Spanish control. In 1817, Chile won its independence from Spanish rule, and since then the government of Chile has gone through several transformations, from Marxist to military to democratic. Cocina Macul is the only winery in Chile established in the 19th century that continues in the hands of the founding family.
Rosé is a technique of making wine. You can do it with any grape. Syrah, Pinot Noir, Cabernet Sauvignon, any red grape could make us a rosé. We make it with Merlot, with this variety. And what they do is simply to leave the skin of the grape in contact with the juice just a couple of hours, 6 to 8 hours. So probably they were trying to, save, storage this fruit for later, for the months coming. Probably they forgot about it, for some months. And then they were back, right, the fruit. And they went to check and found this very strange juice that they didn't know, never tried before, Felt curious, tried for the very first time, and felt like, like their spirit was elevating, like the gods were touching them, and like a very surreal feeling. And they were like,
the company remains 100% under family control and produces limited quantities of fine wines. A visit to the dark and dusty original wine cellars is a bit creepy, with full bottles still inside. These bottles come from the early days of the winery. We thoroughly enjoy sipping these fine wines and return to Santiago to get ready for our early morning 5.5-hour flight to Easter Island. To arrive to Rapa Nui by air is rather magical. Of course, that is the only way most people arrive, but it is still magical. After what seems like a very long flight, where all you see is the ocean, this tiny island comes into view, and, well, we fly right past it. Just as I'm wondering if the pilot somehow missed it, the plane takes a sharp U-turn to line up with the airport. The plane, which only flies 3 times a week after the pandemic, is completely full. One of the most popular items to carry on to the plane from the mainland is donuts. After deplaning, I look around and see a small arrival building where you must pick up your luggage. As we walk toward the building, I think, wow! This is a peaceful, beautiful, semi-tropical island, and I begin to relax. Once inside the building, all dreams of a peaceful arrival end. Inside, near the luggage belt, hundreds of people are jammed shoulder to shoulder, trying to retrieve their bags and parcels. So many parcels, who knew? We are jostled back and forth, trying to get a look at the baggage belt, until the crowd thins and we oat travelers are nearly the only ones left. Finally, the luggage appears. We pass through customs and are outside waiting for our transportation to our hotel for the next 4 nights. Now that is peaceful. Easter Island is roughly 5 by 7 by 10 miles in size and about 2,000 miles from Chile. It is one of the most remote inhabited places on Earth. That means if you are on Easter Island, you must really have wanted to be here, or you were born here. You may be wondering how the island became known as Easter Island. A Dutch sailor landed on the island on Easter Sunday in 1722, and so he called the island Easter Island. The island is properly known as Rapa Nui, named by the island's first inhabitants that arrived from Polynesia between the years of 800 to 1200 AD. After a light lunch and stowing our bags at the hotel, we take the afternoon to visit several moai sites. The 7 statues at Ahu Akivi were transported from the quarry of Renu Raraku volcano, located over 9 miles away, about 150 years before the first contact with European explorers, using an unknown method. These moai have the average weight of 5 tons each. It is said that the moai of Aku Akivi are the only statues that look at the sea on the whole island. The truth is that they are oriented like the rest of the platforms. They face toward a place where the village once stood. The moai of Akivi were placed like the others to watch over and protect the village through the influence of their mana or mystical power. Reconstruction work in Ahu Akivi began in March of 1960 and finished in October of that same year. This was the first serious archaeological excavation and the first complete restoration of a ceremonial site on Rapa Nui. Punipau Quarry is the source of the red stone topknots that were put on the top of the heads of some of the moai. Scattered about the quarry area are about 30 topknots of the 100 or so that were made. These do not represent hats, but instead a topknot of hair, sort of like a man bun. These were added at a later stage in the history of moai making and were only placed on the largest moai at the most important ceremonial sites. It's a short walk to the top of the quarry for good views of the surrounding area. After a few photos from the top, we return down the hill to our ride. Akahanga is the site of one of the larger settlements on the island, and it is said that the first king of Rapa Nui, Hotumatua, migrated here by canoe around 800 AD with the first settlers from Polynesia and lived in this village. The king is said to have been buried here, but recent excavations have not uncovered any remains of the king. We walked the village site with our guide, viewing the remains of boat-shaped houses and the stone ovens they used for cooking. This house foundation clearly shows the holes for the roof poles. The most impressive ruins at the site is the Ahu, that is nearly 60 feet in length, and the 13 moai of Ahu Akahanga, which once stood proudly on this platform. They lie on the ground, both face down and face up. After Peruvian slave traders removed about 1,500 natives in 1860, and Europeans brought Christianity and disease to the island, all of the moai on the island were toppled by the remaining population to destroy their power. Disease, slave trading, and wars between the tribes brought the island population down to less than 200 persons of Polynesian heritage. In 1888, Chile annexed Easter Island, and in 1965, the island's residents became full Chilean citizens. Nearby, Anakena Beach is a fun place to hang out and swim in the warm waters of the bay. We spend a couple of hours here, just relaxing and swimming after a hard day of sightseeing. We all had fun at the dance lesson to learn some Rapa Nui dance moves. Some people got the moves down rather quickly, but by the end of the lesson, the only one who really got the vibe was Sue. She was the last one dancing. I was so busy demolishing the fabulous impandes prepared by our local family that I forgot to take photos until nearly the end. The hostess was very accommodating, and the lunch with a great view could not get any better. I have been looking forward to visiting this site since arriving in Rapa Nui. According to tradition, once the cult of the ancestor Moai statues was abandoned, opposing tribe groups became eager to take power, and it is here that the struggle for power took place. The Birdman cult began in the village of Orongo, at the edge of the Rano Kau volcano, where the cliff descends almost straight down into the sea. The ceremonial stone village of Orongo was built to house the contestants for the Birdman competition held in the springtime. The goal of the winner was to swim to the small islet off the coast of Rapa Nui to collect the first egg laid in the spring by the sooty tern and swim back with it unbroken. The winner's chief is the one who is chosen to become the ruler over all of the tribes until the following spring. Glyphs of the Birdman appear here and all around the island. After walking around Orongo, we approached the edge of the volcanic caldera of Rano Kau. The wind is strong, and the view of the lake is awe-inspiring, but don't get too close to the edge or the wind may blow you over. It's one of the most amazing sights on the island. The Rana Raraku volcano is one of the most incredible and extraordinary archaeological sites on the planet. In this quiet place full of mystery, the moai were carved out of the volcanic rock. When you walk among the enormous stone figures, you are in awe of these statues that were carved to represent the tribal ancestors and give them power or mana to watch over and protect the villagers. The statues are carved from a very porous rock called tuff, using stone tools made of basalt, which is a much harder stone than tuff. The eroded appearance of the exposed parts of the statues is due to the weathering of the tuff. Most statues around the quarry are partially buried in the surrounding dirt. Why these completed statues never left the quarry is still a mystery. Some may have been too large to move and were left here as guardians of the quarry. Some of the biggest ones were never finished and are still attached to the bedrock from which they were carved. I doubt if we'll ever know the answer. After Europeans discovered and visited the island, diseases brought by the Spanish in 1770 had devastating consequences for the native people of Rapa Nui that led, along with slavery, to a drastic decline in population and the abandonment of the quarry and the practice of carving the statues for ancestor worship. Close to 900 moai were carved at the quarry. 397 still remain at the site, in various stages of work or left on the quarry slopes. One moai is different among the many similar moai by being the only moai that is kneeling. Its appearance is much more natural and realistic. The transport of the moai is still the biggest unresolved mystery of Easter Island. The average height of a moai is 4 meters. However, in the quarry still attached to the rock is the biggest moai, almost 22 meters long, and whose weight is estimated between 250 to 300 tons. Ahu Tongariki is the largest ahu on Easter Island. Its 15 moai were toppled during the island's civil wars, and in 1960, a tsunami caused by an earthquake off the coast of Chile swept the ahu and some of the statues more than 100 meters inland. For about 30 years, the ahu and its statues remained in ruins. Finally, in the 1900s, Ahu Tongariki underwent a restoration that took about 5 years to complete. The variety in the shapes and sizes of the statues is striking. They are all different: tall, short, fat, and skinny, just like us. This is the most impressive ahu on the island. If you get a chance to visit Easter Island, this is a must-see sight. At the end of our visit, we pose in front of the ahu and its statues for a light-hearted group photo. Nearby the airport is another mystery of Rapa Nui, the Inca Wall. No other place on Rapa Nui has an ahu built in this manner that reminds one of how the Incas built their walls in Peru. Just amazing. By now, I hope you have had enough of ahus and moai. We covered most of the main sites in Rapa Nui, so on our last day, we had plenty of free time to do sightseeing on our own. I decided to go on an early morning walk along the waterfront near the hotel. The sunrise was wonderful to experience. The seashore is absolutely stunning. All along the way to the main part of Hangaroa are many works of art carved in stone. Early morning surfers ride the waves. Swimmers take a dip in the sea in a protected spot. Our adventures on the island of Rapa Nui will not be forgotten soon, as this is a very special place. The spirits of the ancestors are all around you. We walked a lot to visit the archaeological sites. We took more photos than we can ever look at. We laughed and talked among ourselves and met some of the people of Rapa Nui. In other words, we had a great time exploring together. I will always remember Easter Island and the fun we had together with overseas adventure travel. For a small island, there is a lot to see. Some of us went on to explore Patagonia together, and others were split off to join another group after we returned to mainland Chile.